Yep, we are on the air. A few minutes late, as is customary, with all the messing around. Okay, so first of all, I wanted to just say I was a bit tardy in getting the jobs done last time. I did get around to sending Jason and Philip the request to put slip 22 in to replace SIP 22, but I didn't hear back from him yet, and with the time zones, it's difficult to get a hold of him. So I'll try harder at that over the next week or so. So there's not much to report there other than things are moving.
So Philip has been at Florian and Eco, and he's still there until tomorrow. So he's basically unresponsive because he's running around in circles.
Okay, that's fine. It's my fault for leaving it so late in the month anyway. The good news is this month I have a lot more time. I'm not traveling to Europe or anything like that, so it should be a bit easier.
Yeah.
And the thing that I thought we could maybe do today is there was already, before Martin's SIPs, last time SIPs 24 and 25, I think we did, there was already another proposal that had been made in April that sort of fell through the cracks a bit. And when I went into the pull requests, there were about 2 or 3 others in the backlog, so one of them dating back to 2012. And I just thought maybe we can take a quick look at them and at least get action items together, probably to chase up with the original authors and see if it still makes sense for them to have these things in there. They'll obviously need to be renumbered if we accept them, but I can bring those up now and we can have a look through if you guys are up for that.
Do you have screen sharing, or should we look at
Yeah, I'm going to screen share. There it is, screen share the entire screen. Share. Oh, that's really not helpful. And then, let's see, not that one, this one, I think, yes. Okay, so, this is the first one I wanted to talk about. This is just, basically, this is a pull request I've got in. It gets rid of most of the stuff I added for slips because we're using a different mechanism for that now. So, it's mostly a reversion of all the slip stuff that was added to Scala, the docs.scala lang site. So, maybe Heather or Seth, if you could take a look at that and just...
I didn't understand. Yeah, I can do that. I just don't understand real quick. So, what is...
Sorry, Heather, you're a bit faint. I can't quite hear you.
I just don't know what this is. Could you just give me... I didn't follow. You gave me...
Sure. Yeah. Originally, when we came up with the idea of slips, we were going to use the same mechanism that we had for SIPs, or a very similar one, but they would have their own section on the site. Alongside the slip ones. So I went in and added basically lists for slips that sat alongside the SIPs ones. And then after a bit of discussion, we decided that something more like the Rust mechanism, which uses GitHub, it's all centered around using GitHub as the, organizational structure for submitting and reviewing slips would be used. So we set that up, which meant that this is now superfluous and also confusing, because when you go to the Scala doc site, it says one thing, but actually we want them to use a different one. So what this pull request does is just says slips are in a separate project on GitHub, and it points them to that and just says go and read up on the project site what to do.
Okay. Alright. Do you have like a repository already?
Yeah, the repository is...
is it under Scala?
It's actually called Scala Slip.
Okay.
Here it is. And that explains the process. It's based very much on what Rust does, the Rust language.
Okay.
And basically what that PR does is removes all the stuff that was related to Slip on the doc site, except to point them to this one if they want to submit a slip. And long term, we don't know yet, but long term we might move SIPs to this if it works out well, to something like this.
Okay.
Okay, so that's that. Back up a bit. All right, so the pull requests. Let's go through the oldest to the newest. The very oldest is fixing either, which seems to fit in pretty well with the or at least, I don't know, cross over the same domain as validation and what to do with OR, all that sort of thing. Basically, what this one was trying to do was just fix some of the biggest problems with having to mention right projections and some of the surprising things that you get in for expressions when you do that. There's a whole section about it there. Now this one dates back to 2012. There is a repository which also hasn't been updated since 2012. So I'm really not sure what kind of state it's in, whether the author has moved to Bali or something in the meantime and isn't interested in doing it anymore. But
I guess the issue here is that I guess so, because I imagine there will be some breakage compared to the existing proposal. I don't know. If there's no breakage, then it would be uncontroversial. But if there is breakage, then I think we should see it in the context of, let's say, a bigger redesign edition where we look at essentially either a new or revamped even try a particular case of that, and also how it would relate to a validation type. So it's sort of a complex setting. It would be good to see somebody just taking that and working out a coherent proposal of all these moving parts.
Yeah, you're a little faint, Martin, but I think I got the gist of that. So it seems to be that there's a lot of interest in this kind of area through validation, Bill's OR stuff that he's been doing with Scholastic, and lots of people sort of bumping into either. It seems like we need to get all of those guys talking or something so they can sort it out among themselves.
Yeah. Am I clearer now? It's
oh yes, much.
That really helps.
Okay, so when we talk, we go close to the computer. Okay, cool. Yeah, so maybe we should set a sort of a target to say we would really like to entertain proposals that essentially do the whole area, essentially a more general super type of try that could be either a new type, validation, and yeah, I think those two things.
But wouldn't it have to be a new type, given that, I mean, we can't, so they want to change both of the projections. So in this proposal, I remember, and I think that
I guess it would have to be.
We brought it up, yeah, we discussed it in Scala way back in the day, and the problem was basically that they wanted to change either, and this was back in the days where we began settling on binary and source compatibility sort of policies. So I think that we had not yet formally had such a policy, and we were trying to develop one when this argument came up, and I think that this thing basically, we didn't know what to do with it because we were working out these policies, and the idea was that basically it wasn't realistic to change either, since it, I don't know, is in so many people's code bases as it is. You would be changing basically the projections, but otherwise you would have the same top level either type. I don't remember the concrete proposal, I just remember that the projections are different. And I want to be very biased.
I think the gist of this one, like many of them, is to make it right biased. So if you map over it, it just maps over the right side, and to eliminate some of the stranger type problems that you get. I think he's got an example here of where you start to get things like this, the type mismatch where it infers wrongly on one side or stuff like that.
Right, I mean, these are all valid complaints. It's more just if we change either as it stands, I mean, the breakages that would happen because of that. I think that's the only issue, not the actual proposal itself. If it was like some other type called, I don't know, whatever, Betty, I don't care, so long as it's not actually changing people's either code that they have in real life in production.
Right.
So I want to make sure that people are aware that there's one other proposal going around about either, which is a pull request in the Scala repository, number 4547. So the suggestion there is to leave the core either type unbiased, but to add some implicits that you can import that basically bias it for the purposes of using it in a for comprehension. So since those implicits have to be explicitly imported, this would not change the meaning of any existing code. It looks like a promising approach. I actually closed the pull request because it seemed to me like the kind of thing that ought to be a slip, so I just closed it and said, hey, this looks promising. I suggest that this go through the new slip process. So far, the person who proposed it hasn't responded yet, but that was only about a week and a half ago that I did that.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my take as well. I think these can definitely be handled as slips rather than sips now that we have that.
I mean, this was just an ordinary pull request.
My inclination, I'm taking notes of what to do here. My inclination here is to see if I can reach out to the author of this, which is Rob Dickens, and the author of the pull request you were talking about, and probably a couple of other people that I know that have expressed an interest in improving this, and see if we can't, I don't know, maybe this is the first expert group, it's the IDA expert group.
The IDA validation expert group.
Yeah, the IDA validation expert group. See if we can get them to start working towards some kind of common solution or something like that.
That would be good. I think that would be good.
Yeah, and if somehow try could be incorporated, you had this idea
Try
about...
should be incorporated, and
you had this idea about whatever this either new either or something, the try could be a subclass of said either.
Cool. It's funny because quite out of the blue, a co-worker here had trouble with this yesterday, and it was very difficult to explain what was going on. He was trying to use it either in a for expression, and it wasn't working out as he had hoped. And yeah, so it's sort of just timely that happened. Okay, so I've got that down. I'll take it on and try and get a group together, see what can be done, and probably close out this one once I've got Rob Dickens. Once I've talked to him and explained why we're going to try and shove this across the slips.
Yeah, Bill before you
yeah, Bill should be involved too. Yeah. Right? What is the thing called in Scala?
Or type is or.
Yeah, or.
Or's nice because it works grammatically as an infix type as well, which is it reads very nicely when you use it.
Yeah. This one comment about subclassing. The subclassing using try to subclass either is that then there might be a problem that basically implemented by more than two concrete types, right? So maybe a better way would be to use a type alias along with some implicits to add specific methods. Maybe another solution.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to really make a subclass, but a type.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, also
somehow
plays with existing factors.
Somehow
Right?
they should be integrated.
Okay.
Is that somehow clear? I mean, so what's the then what we do? The idea is then maybe it's possible to put together a small group that which means direction or.
Sorry, you're a bit faint there, Heather. Were you asking about how to put the group together?
No, I'm asking. So then, what's the action item? The action item is maybe get together a group of people like Bill, Rob Dickens, whoever made that pull request. I don't know, maybe one other person to try and clean up this either try validation story.
Yeah, I think so. I think this is exciting because it will be the first time that we've done something like this. I think maybe the way to do it is sort of a combination of Gitter and the slip pull request itself to sort of discuss back and forth what they want to do or something like that. But I guess this will actually show us how we can do these kind of things in the future as well. We'll figure out what works.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
All right. The next one is possible extensions of futures and promises. Add a new set from Amy Jam Session, or Eddie Jam Session. That's a cool name. Anyway, so it's let's have a look at the actual SIP. Oh, it's a Google Doc, so let's go to the Google Doc. So it was originally supposed to be SIP23. It's obviously going to have to be renamed. It has a lot of comments in it, but it never really seemed to get any further. I don't know what to do about this other than to reach out and see if he's...
Okay, yes. Can you just scroll on? Because I've read this document before. So I saw something about locals. So Twitter has this thing called locals. So we were talking about adding these from the beginning when we first came up with SIP14. Can you scroll down?
Okay, yep.
There's just a little bit more to the next page. I just want to make sure I saw locals, but I assume it's probably the same.
Oh, there we go, locals, yep.
Yep. Yeah, so this is the same. I don't know. Yes, here it is. The future. So Twitter is sort of. So we had discussed doing this back when we were working on SIP14. It was just a matter of, well, let's start somewhere and then maybe later add it. So I haven't gone through this document, neither has Alex, but I mean, I think that it was always a good idea to add locals at some point. It's just a matter of somebody actually doing it.
Yeah, and it's another one that, as far as I can tell, there's nothing in here that shouldn't be a slip. So maybe we move this across to the libraries section as well. I guess I'll reach out. We don't have to decide anything today. I'll reach out and try and get hold of the principals behind it and find out if they're still interested, and let them know that we're sort of, getting the band back together, getting things back alive again. So let's do that. So another action, contact, SIP. What is this? It's no good using the number because they're taken.
Extensions of features and promises are just calling it locals because it's all about
of features,
yeah,
promises,
owners.
Find out current interest, move to slip. Okay, that's fine. All right, next one. I think it was backticks in string interpolation. This sounds like a fairly minor one. It's another SIP23, so obviously the number's going to have to change. But it's Kevin Wright, backticks in string interpolation. In practice, identifier must start with a letter, but can contain letters, numbers, underscores, and so on. String literal form is of special interest for interpolation. It allows domain-specific identifiers that are particularly suited to areas such as code generation, quasi-quoting, and markup languages. I mean, it sounds reasonable. It also sounds like something that could be done just in the libraries again.
Sure, that would be the alternative to say. It's not always. No, you can't do it in the library.
Oh, okay. So this is a real SIP then. All right, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you want me to reach out to Kevin and find out if he's still interested in pushing this forward?
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty negative on this one.
Okay.
Because it seems like we introduce a complication to open the door for all sort of abuses. I mean, the present one is actually pretty simple. Everybody knows what an alphanumeric identifier is, right? And that's what you can use in string interpolation. So nothing fancy in here. And I'm sure there are lots of other things what you would want to do, like get the underscores in there or whatever. But the current one has the advantage that it's very simple.
Okay, yeah, actually he says at the bottom here that it's a breaking change.
An identifier cannot follow an interpreted identifier, so it breaks existing code, right? So if you have a backtick, oh no, if it starts with a backtick, then it can end with a backtick. So that's probably what they do, yeah.
There's some feedback in the pull request from Dennis and from Eugene, and they both sound a bit skeptical. So I think we might just kick this back to Kevin and be like, people sound skeptical. It doesn't look good unless you can line up more support. So it's sort of.
That sounds like a good
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll put that down. Contact Kevin. So this is the backticks.
Yeah, I think that there should be some burden on the proposers to line up support themselves, right?
Yeah. That was our policy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also address comments, concerns. Yeah, I'll do that. And if I'll talk to Kevin about it as well. It could be that the next SIP meeting, if he can't get enough support, we remove this one.
Okay.
So concerns, ECC. Okay, that's good.
That's kind of how I feel about the futures and promises one as well. It's like it looks sort of reasonable, but I would like to see more, significant people saying we want this.
Okay, needs to get more significant support.
Like picking and choosing, like the locals business. I think that if you ask the group of people who worked on futures, they'll all be like, "Yeah, that sounds great. We always kind of were happy about that." But I think there are other things in the document that maybe aren't something that we are in a rush to add because it could be breaking. So we're just making trees. I haven't had a chance to read it in like a year, but I think that this one is more a matter of like cherry picking the bits that we would like and maybe not picking everything.
Sure. I think that a lot of these, I just wanted to basically get these out in the world again, and we can take the next month or so to actually, dig into them in some detail. I'm late on this one as well, but I am putting together a blog post to go up on the not particularly highly used Scala blog to sort of point people at these, and I'll invite comment over the next month. And if there's insufficient support at the end of that, that tells us it's time to kill these and move on. I think that seems like the fairest thing to do.
Yeah.
Okay, there's one more, I think, which is the one that was April 10th. It got some interest from Jason. I haven't missed anything on the way, have I? Singleton objects. I think these are all just changes that are kind of in the queue. This one's the other one, the implicits in for comprehensions. And actually, Adrian and Jason both weighed in on it, and they seem to like the idea, but then it's sort of just floundered. So let's have a look at the proposal. So the idea is to allow the implicit keyword inside the for block, so that it's implicit within the for block. It seems fairly, minor impact in terms of API. It shouldn't affect existing code, right?
No, it wouldn't affect existing code.
That's good horrifying.
There's an important remark by Dennis where he says, look, this really ought to be about patterns. It's not about for comprehension specifically. It's about patterns in general.
So it might need broadening to all patterns.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay. So let's do that. So this is again, it won't be called SIP24 no matter what happens. But it's implicits in for SIP, implicits in for comprehensions. Contact, who is it? Harold. Broaden to all patterns, and this is going to be a language change, right?
Yeah.
It's going to need to be a language change. So it needs to be SIP. Reevaluate next month.
Okay.
Okay, I think that actually does it for those.
Okay. I have one other which I promised to discuss that came up in the, I think in the GitHub channel and in the mailing list that somebody wants to propose commas in numeric literals and binary literals, so from Java for.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
What was the first one? Because you're a little faint. I heard binary literals.
Commas. So numbers.
Oh, commas.
Numeric literals with commas in them.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
The second one is binary numeric literals.
Okay. How do we feel about that?
So commas, couldn't that be handled by string interpolation or something like this?
It could, but then it wouldn't be a literal anymore. You wouldn't want to write it with string interpolation.
Okay.
So my argument why I think it's reasonable to look at this is that Scala was modeled after in the lexical syntax after Java, and it's true that it's no longer complete Java. So we dropped octal literals and we dropped essentially floating point literals that end in a decimal point. That's the two deviations. But essentially, any deviation we have just increases the friction. So the discussion, well, I guess you're like Java. Java has this. Why don't you have this? So you have to.
If Java jumped off the Brooklyn Bridge, would you jump off the Brooklyn Bridge too?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, the arguments to both sides, and that's why we did drop octals and floating point literals with the ending in the decimal points, because both of them were just too confusing in too many situations in Scala syntax.
Yeah, particularly the dot one showing up as
Exactly.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So what do you want me to do with this one?
Well, I think right now we have to discuss whether we want to accept it as a SIP.
Okay. It hasn't actually been formally proposed as a document yet, right?
No, it's in Scala debate though, and the guy made something that was, almost. I mean, given like 30 more minutes of massaging, it could easily be a SIP or slip.
It could probably be close to a SIP. Yeah. It's because it's a simple thing. The comments on debate were rather negative. Most of the people said we don't need this. I'm just pushing out the. It came actually from a list of, I think it was on Reddit, somebody proposing a long list of features who said essentially Scala would be so much better if it just had this and this and that, and it's not practical enough, and it just needs this and this and that. And I responded, and most of the things I just shot down, but I was nice to a couple others, where I said, well, this actually might have promise, so, and they followed up on this one, and I said, well, if you want to make it a SIP, you have to discuss it on the mailing list, and then we will see. So that's the current status.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of finding it on the mailing list and then saying, okay, it seems like you have some support for this. I don't know, Martin is a pretty good supporter. If he's, backing you, then you could maybe make it a SIP. A SIP. My God, I just get it backwards. Yes.
It's sort of, I don't know what do other people feel about it. I don't. I'm giving the argument in favor, which doesn't say I'm necessarily in favor. I just say that that's an argument why one might. I mean, of course, there are arguments against it as well. It's a change.
I would actually be more enthusiastic about a slip that just added string interpolators or methods, rather than mess with the syntax. Like the Scala has good features for supporting nice ways of writing numbers. Why not let those into the standard library as a slip, and then if they really end up being used that much, maybe consider the syntax. I think the argument on that Java has at why don't we is not that strong, but partly because we have better ways than Java does of providing alternatives, and also partly because we've already diverged from the Java literal syntax now in several respects. So I just don't feel that obligated to stick close to them on this stuff anymore. The people who get upset about this and are like, just like, what's wrong with Scala that it doesn't have this? I'm just not that sympathetic. It's like, is that if this is really the biggest thing that you have to be upset about, then your life is great.
Yeah.
You know? So that's my gut feeling about this.
Yeah, I think with all of these, and it's got to be, I'll get to it this weekend or very early next week, is to get a blog post out with all of these in on the Scala site and invite comment. And if we don't get comments, that also tells us something about this. And as long as we invite public comment, if no one actually can be bothered to get involved, then they pretty much get the decision that the group makes. So we'll advertise it, we'll invite comment, and we'll see what kind of support there is and go from there.
Yeah.
I can't imagine anybody getting too hot under the collar about this particular subject.
Yeah.
But then again, what do I know?
I'm asking the rest of the TypeSafe Scala team what they think. So I'll find out about that for next time.
Okay. All right. Anything anybody else wants to discuss today?
Just a short comment about string interpolators. I mean, if it's a problem that basically the literals, the compiler could optimize this. Something
so it's just a weird syntax. You don't want to write a number in quotes.
Right.
So,
yeah, I was wondering what that would look like. It would be like an N followed by quotes and then followed by the
very long
string or something.
In groups. So some grouping actually I think makes sense. In particular now that more and more numbers are really long for longs and stuff like that, and I don't know, you might want to do it. And if you do it, then I think we should just do it the same as in Java. We shouldn't invent another convention because that's just not. We don't care about this stuff very much, so we don't really want to invest sort of new ideas into new syntax, which we should just keep the Java one.
I'm curious. I've not really looked at how it's done in Java, but if there's actually commas allowed in a number, how does that work if you pass something like that into a function? How does it know?
It's underscores.
Oh, it's underscores. Okay. I was going to say commas would be tricky in that one.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, underscores.
Binary
literals.
There are some. If we were going to think about doing this with string interpolators, there's a candidate implementation in Spire for binary literals.
For binary literals, okay.
Okay, and so that was Inspire. There's a
yeah, Spire actually has a whole suite of string interpolators that are macro based, so that they happen at compile time for writing all sorts of different numeric literals.
There's actually one thing that I sort of was toying with is to have a general numeric syntax that then gets essentially translated by some sort of macros, implicit functions to whatever the target type is. So the use case was, well, we really would like to be able to write begins without quotes, without strings. So just write a very long number of zeros and one, well, whatever, and have it be a big N. So there should be a way to do that. And then if you do that, then probably a logical syntax would be anything that starts with a digit and it's a sequence of probably digits, and I would then actually include underscores because letters are the same thing. So anything that starts with a digit and is followed by letters, digits, or underscores counts as essentially an integral number of some sort, and it will essentially, there will be a user-definable way to interpret that thing, just like a string interpolation.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah.
So that would sort of subsume them as a library thing. Maybe we should, I don't know, before that happens.
Well, we have a month. I mean, this is the thing. The meetings are useful for keeping things on track, but I think we have enough material this month to actually start some work in the interim and try and get things kind of rolling back and forth on probably, and I think we still need to address this issue. Are we going to use Scala internals for this discussion?
Why not? Yeah.
Okay. So we'll.
What do you do with the Scala slip rather?
What is a Scala group? Scala sips. Scala
sips, yeah. Scala sips, yeah. Yeah, it's true. Internals is maybe too much. I don't know. What do people think?
Okay, well let's figure that out as the first thing, and then start the conversation on whatever channel we decide we're going to start it on this month, and try and get things in a state where we know what we're doing for the next meeting.
I have a preference for keeping Scala internals as a kind of hacker space rather than a place where design discussions are happening, where we want people from who are not contributors.
I agree.
No, just put it on Scala SIP then.
Okay, Scala SIP.
Yeah,
And
or if anybody subscribed to it, then they're subscribed to occasional debate about a new library or language feature. So.
We will have a slight bootstrapping problem with the blog and Scala SIP as well, in that I suspect not many people are monitoring them at this point, so we'll have to get the word out somehow that interested parties should know that these are picking up and getting used again.
People are subscribed to it, right? Like it goes into their inbox. And
at least for Scala SIP, that's true. I'm not sure how many people are watching the Scala blog.
Well, Scala blog is something else. Usually what we do is we retweet something that we
Yeah.
want.
Yeah, I think we'll need to do a little bit of that this month until people get the idea that they should show up and look at what's happening on there.
Yeah. I mean, if people are really interested, stuff gets around on Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah, let's hope so. Otherwise, this is a lot of effort to go to for no real reward.
Yeah.
I mean, if the reward is that no one cares that much, then that's information.
Yeah, they get the Scala that they get then. That's true. All right, guys. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Yep, thank you.
That's all we had today.
That is. Unless you guys can think of anything else, that was really the clearing the backlog was the big one for me. This one. So.
Very good. Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Oh no. Did you want to say something else?
No, I'm just saying I'm going to be in the Bay Area from August 9th on. Are you then?
I will be around all of August, I think. Yeah. So we should catch up definitely.
Okay. I'll be at in San Francisco at TypeSafe around that same time.
Ah, cool. Good.
Have you guys talked to Alexei and Vlad about the possibility of doing some of the user groups while you're out there, the Scala user groups?
I actually was talking to Alexei.
Okay.
The thing is, it's the Scala by the Bay conference. So
right.
So.
Oh yes, well I'll be at that as well. So.
Okay. So right. You have a keynote there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be at the first at the JVM Languages Summit, and then I have a couple of days just hanging out, and then the big data Scala. I don't think I'll go to Scala by the Bay, or maybe just drop in, but not to all.
Okay. That sounds good. Yeah, we'll sort it out. That sounds brilliant.
Okay, cool. Good. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
All right. See you guys.
Bye. Yeah.